And it's a phenomenal interview, guys. Very underrated. And this how look. It only has 401 views. It should have 400,000. I'm not lying. It should have 400,000. It's so good, but we're only going to take a piece from it.
Really talking about gay people that day because of Rock Hudson and how bad it was. And see, this is what.
All right, so
back in the 50s and 60s, contracted the AIDS virus, the right side of God, as people say. And so that was.
Were you Catholic?
What I'll paraphrase. What he was struggling with was pray away the gay, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit more in depth in the next interview. But this one, he's about to give you a great revelation, guys.
Not Catholic, but I grew up very similar to Mormonism. I grew up in a church called the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Very good people, very liberal people, but you still hear the things in the Bible that people think that it says, and all that kind of stuff. But I also grew up in states like Montana, in Colorado, in Iowa, and those aren't. I can remember being in middle school. It was either 8th or 9th grade. I can't remember specifically. And this is when Rock Hudson, who was a famous actor back in the 50s and 60s, contracted the AIDS virus and died of AIDS.
Right.
And this is like the first time that we're sort of hearing about AIDS. But I can remember being in Montana, and I remember being in PE class, and I remember people really talking about gay people that day because of Rock Hudson and how bad it was. And see, this is what happens. And those, I don't know what type of language I'm allowed to use on your show, so I'll refrain from using it.
Okay, so he's talking about being gay.
We're uncensored.
Okay, I'll use the word fag, like they were using that word. And I can just remember just realizing that I was like Rock Hudson, and, here I am in Montana, and there wasn't really anybody that I knew of that was like me. And so I can just remember really struggling and really, hating myself at that point, because you're like this, and you hear everybody saying all these bad things.
Okay, so he's talking about he's hating himself, and people are calling him the F word. This could be daunting. This is back in the day, guys. This is no support whatsoever. The person he's talking about contracted AIDS, and they killed themselves, or they self-deleted.
About you, and you're not really sure what to do about it, and you question yourself, well, why am I like this?
So, how old were you when you realized? Because I was like you. I went to Catholic school my whole life. I didn't know any gay people. I didn't even know what it was. So when did you realize what was going on?
I knew that I was attracted to other guys or boys, whatever, since the time I was 3. Like, I have a very distinct memory at 3 years old of being attracted to my neighbor boy, my neighbor.
Hey.
Whatever. And
the whole neighborhood, very nice. Me too.
Yeah, I always knew, but I thought it was something that would go away, or that I could definitely pray away, or that I didn't have to acknowledge. It was something that I just tried to shut off.
You hear he's mentioning pray
and stay away from. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work that way.
No.
Getting back to my breakdown, so just for me, the struggle was always like, I don't know, I just kept continuing to hear that I was bad and that I was wrong and this, that, and the other. And I thought, well, once I get out of middle school, it'll be different in high school. And I thought, well, once I get out of high school, it'll be different. I'll be in college. And then I still heard the same shit in college. And so then I was like, okay, well, once I get out of college and I get into the real world, I won't have to listen to any of this stuff. And then you get into the real world, and people are still calling you a fag, and people are still making fun of you, and still making you feel bad about yourself. And you have all these preachers on TV like Joel Osteen or Pat Robertson spewing their crap about it's not right in the eyes of God, and hate the sin, but whatever they say. Hate the sinner.
Is hate the sin but love the sinner.
But hate the sin but love the sinner, kind of thing, whatever it is. So you keep hearing that, and eventually it adds up. And for me, I did everything in my power to have what we consider to be God to change me. And unfortunately, it didn't work, and it just led me to have a nervous breakdown. And it was a really scary, traumatic experience to feel like you're losing your mind, and to sort of be on the fence. Like, I really do understand what it's like sometimes when you see homeless people and they're kind of speaking to imaginary people. I was kind of on that fence. Like, I understood, like, if I kept going, I could probably potentially literally lose my mind. And so luckily I got help when I needed help. And, I did try to kill myself. I thought about it quite often.
Did you guys hear that? He thought about self-deleting.
Something that I struggled with for a long time. And, I know, unfortunately, that other people still struggle with that. And that's why I get so very upset with religious leaders and even people within our own government that still continue to bash gay people, because they don't realize that, it just takes that little comment, and that little comment could throw somebody off a bridge, could cause them to shoot themselves in the head. It could do a lot of damage. So, I hope people hear what I've been through, and that they know that there is hope and that there is opportunity. Unfortunately, like, a guy I knew, he was a photographer here in Hollywood who was gay, and he struggled with depression and alcoholism, but also with being gay.
And I'm just letting it play so everyone can, like, feel it, because this is from 2013, guys. This is a decade ago. No media training. He's just giving you his unfiltered, unmitigated, unscripted thoughts on what it was like to be gay in Hollywood.
And he recently committed suicide just a few days before Christmas. So even after, it's just not adolescents, it's people that go into their adulthood. We think we're done with the darkness, and unfortunately it still might be there. So anything I can do to help alleviate that for people, I hope they hear my story and that I can help guide them maybe in some direction.
Right. So obviously you mentioned you got help. For someone who's feeling that way or is on that edge, what was it? What was the turning point for you to where you said, was it therapy? Was it family? Was there a moment that changed things for you?
Well, I can just remember I was just driving down the street one day, and I just I just thought, I really felt myself losing my mind. I was in Los Angeles, and I just said, God, I'm sorry. It was the whole me trying to pray the gay away stuff. I just really thought this was going to happen. And I just was coming to the realization this isn't going to change. And I just said, Lord, I can't do this anymore, and I just need to get help. And so I drove myself to Cedars-Sinai emergency room and spent some time there. But I decided it would be more important for me to go home and spend time go to a hospital that's closer to my family. So I left the hospital and I jumped on a plane and went to the hospital. The turning point.
So he checked himself in, guys. He checked himself into a hospital.
Just was like, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was tired of hating myself. I was tired of being depressed. I was tired of letting other people dictate who I need to be.
Good for you.
And so, it was just kind of that kind of thing, but it wasn't like this magical moment. It was like, I had months and years of trying to get myself back to what I think is a normal level of functioning in the world. It wasn't, this whole gay reparative therapy is extremely damaging.
Gay reparative therapy. This is AKA pray away the gay.
And I don't care what anybody says or what kind of stuff that they put out there as far as scientific evidence on one side. It is extremely damaging to your mental psyche. And anybody that says differently is fooling themselves. And I think we're pretty clear now that it doesn't work. So I just, if people out there are involved in that, I just really want them to know that they are 100% perfect the way that they are. And people telling you differently is completely bogus. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry that these types of things exist, because they create a lot of damage. Or as a gay person, sometimes you're already damaged as it is, because, like I said, when you're growing up, you hear all these bad things. So you automatically think you're bad, and then you think you're getting help, but the help that you think you're getting, they're continuing to tell you you're bad. they're not helping you accept yourself. So it's,
Right.
I don't know, it's a vicious circle.
All right, guys, that is him talking about, being gay.